Multitudes of people have joined the meeting. Glad that a couple of you have joined to hear these fine people who have raised their hands and want to be part of the MAC. We're gonna have each one of them do 5 minutes introduction to themselves and explain a little bit why they want to be part of this process. And then at the end of that, if you have questions out there in the public, they'd be more than happy to answer them. So with that, we should probably begin. And when you each go, make sure you say which district you'd be representing.
If you want to call on who you want to start.
Oh, I'll do Brady Bunch. So upper right hand corner, I've got Cynthia. So we'll do Cynthia, then Patricia. So we have the Via Grande folks, Monte Rio, Via Grande, and Chuck.
Right.
All right, Cynthia.
Okay, well, hello. I'm Cynthia Strecker, and I'm running to be representative for Monte Rio and Villa Grande. Now, I've lived in Monte Rio for roughly 45 years, okay? And during that time, I've done a variety of different types of community service, and including serving on our school board for roughly 10 years, established the community gardens that are on Reckon Park land with my friend Marcy Martin. And some of you may have seen me at the Monte Rio festivals, giving out literature in my booth about fire safe councils and how to harden your home, that sort of thing. And I also wrote with my husband the original grants from both the county and the Ag and Open Space Division that got the old school property donated to our Reckon Park department. Now, the upgrades to that property were done with grants written by Brian and Stephanie Grant. So I can't claim any credit for any of that. I was on the MAC before when it first started, and I served on the Vacation Rental Committee and the Land Use Committees. There are a number of worthy projects that MAC members are taking on, from trash cleanup days to prioritizing local roads for repair. However, the single biggest issue that's facing Monte Rio and Villa Grande is wastewater. That's the elephant in every room. We have a citizens advisory group, the CAG, that is working on the issue of wastewater, and it's doing an excellent job with some of the many, many complexities involved. I've been meeting with them for pretty much the past 4 years or so, just to get myself aware of what all's involved. And as a MAC member, I would look for ways to help all of us understand wastewater questions, particularly the physical aspects of what's involved. There will be a community meeting or two about all this in the future. And I feel that the more we all know going into the meetings, the more likely it is that we'll be able to work out a solution that is acceptable to most of us. This is a difficult situation we're facing. Many of us are scared. I know I am. I live on a hill. My septic tank is far away from the road. I'm a widowed, retired school teacher. Where am I supposed to get the money to do much of anything? We're going to need help to get through this. And I'd like to be part of that help. That's why I'm asking for your vote. Can't hear you, Pip.
Sorry, mute button. Patricia.
Okay.
Thank you, Cynthia. You're a very hard act to follow. I certainly have have enjoyed meeting you here today, and thank you to the organizers for this Zoom, putting it together and allowing us to meet a few more of the people out there who may not already know us. I'm Patty Thayer. It's Patricia when I'm in court, but now that I'm retired, I just go by Patty. I retired a year ago after practicing law for over 40 years, mostly as a patent litigator. Now I live full-time in Monte Rio, just outside of Villa Grande, in the house that I've owned since 1998. So I don't have near Cynthia's longevity, but I certainly have cherished this area for nearly a quarter century. And it's home for me. It's where I live and where I vote. I just voted this week. One of my top priorities, and it's very hard for me to rank the issues because there's so many and they're very interconnected. But one of my top priorities, and I'm sure is on the minds of everybody because of this gorgeous place that we live in, is to protect our forests, our wildlife, and our river quality from the many, many sources that threaten them. But also, our human community is just as important to me. Emergency preparedness, we fire, drought, floods, we have it all, and preparedness is essential, but sometimes lacking. Those of us who live on Moscow Road have lived in great fear of if we actually need to evacuate, how we're going to do that with a road that still hasn't been repaired after 3 years. But another high priority for me would be brainstorming with you and with the supervisor and staff about how do we provide affordable housing for everyone, including our seasonal workers. We can't just ask the unhoused to please find someplace else to live, to park, or to camp. That's just shifting a problem away from us onto somebody else. It doesn't address it at all. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge, tourism, recreation, that they provide important income to our residents, and we must be known as a safe and clean environment, not the opposite. So lots of studies recently have showed if we're going to address climate change, racial injustice, and create a more equal social fabric, we got to start at the local level. And that's why I really am hoping to be able to join the MAC, whether I join it as the part of the council or just simply attend all the meetings. I think it's essential to be informed and to raise our voices and participate. And that's what I hope to do. I'm confident I can represent everybody because I've been representing clients for all my life and advocated for them. I'm a good listener. And I know to wait and gather all the facts before coming to conclusions and making decisions. So thank you for this time. Again, I appreciate people showing up and being interested, and I'll pass it on back to Pip.
Thank you, Patty. Chuck, you're up.
All right, Pip, thank you. Thanks, Cynthia and Patty as well. I think most of you know me and my background, but I'll go through it a little bit. I founded Russian River Alliance, Monte Rio Community Alliance, as well as Sonoma County Pride. I was president of the Monte Rio Chamber. I was on the board of Monte Rio Rec and Park. I write our local Gazette column. I'm also the lead for our local Next Door. Some of the accomplishments that I've had in the past were to get the abandoned cars off of the terraces as well as our park and ride lots. I got our downtown roads repaved in conjunction with our prior supervisor. And that was back in a time when the Board of Supervisors was coming up with plans to pulverize roads back to gravel and dirt instead of maintaining them. I strongly support small businesses. My profession is I'm over the Commercial Special Assets Division of the bank. So in that capacity, I work with borrowers, I work with attorneys, bankruptcy courts, trying to find win-win situations that obviously maximize the return for the bank, but as well as trying to keep the business in operation. I'm also a small landlord. I have 5 rental properties in Monte Rio. And so when we talk about affordable housing, you know, I think doing it instead of talking about it is what really matters. I've had some very long-term tenants. I've had some tenants that pay less than half or even a third of market rents. So although that's something you probably don't know about me or have heard, it's something I'm proud of. I'm very passionate about Monte Rio, about the potential. I think that everyone, regardless of their income level, has a right to live in a, as we said, a clean and safe neighborhoods. I think that's where we need more engagement with the MAC and our government, getting the agencies together, cutting down on the crime, on the meth addiction, just making it safe for everyone. I also support economic development. It bothers me when people, especially this last month, see on social media a picture of our previous 7-story Monte Rio hotel with the first elevator in Sonoma County, and the comments are like, "Oh my God, what happened? Look at the ghost town it is now." And to be fair, at times it is. I think the county should be doing everything they can to get the Pink reopened. That basically is the social venue of our old downtown area. It would help the neighborhoods a lot if it was reopened with a good operator, who I know we already have one. Wastewater solutions, as Cynthia brought up, that's also important to our area. Personally, I got my Redwood box converted to a septic tank a couple of years ago. The process was not easy, working with Permit Sonoma or PRMD. And I'm thinking to myself, if I have these issues with them, what do other people have? So we need to work together to streamline it, make it easy. There was also supposed to be grants, low interest loans. We're not at that stage still yet. Interest rates are going up, state revenues are going down. Hopefully there's still going to be money available for people to upgrade their systems. One last thing, I strongly support EVs, clean energy. I think we should be getting fast chargers, if not in Monte Rio, somewhere in the river. I would appreciate your vote. If anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm always very open. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chuck. Joe.
Thank you.
And,
Appreciate it.
and so the 3 previous speakers were all from the Monte Rio Via Grande district, and now we're going to move on to Guerneville.
That's me.
Yep.
My name's Joe Rogoff. I do live in Guerneville, as I have for the last 47 years or so. My career was as a natural foods grocer. I started, it was fun hearing Chuck talk about downtown Monte Rio. My first experience was at the Monte Rio Community Food Store in 1974-5. That's the empty lot next to the Pink. We also eventually got the place across the driveway that was Lee Tour for a while. And then downtown was vibrant. I'm happy to say in the 47 years I've been here, I've seen Guerneville go up and down from vibrant to vacant a few times. And one of the things I love about this area is the resilience and the ability to incorporate different groups of people over time into our community. So anyway, my career was a natural foods grocer. After the co-op, I worked a few different places, including being general manager of Food for Thought. We had 3 stores, Sebastopol, Petaluma, Santa Rosa. When they were bought by Whole Foods, I went along and ended my career as president of Whole Foods for the Pacific Northwest, which taught me an awful lot, positively and negatively, but a lot about leadership and a lot about listening. and a lot about being an advocate and being in the middle, which is what I believe this group is. Currently, since my retirement 6 years ago, I've been on a lot of nonprofit boards, 7. Currently, I serve as the chair for Ceres Community Project Board of Directors. I also chair a group out of Portland that's called the Sustainable Food and Agriculture Perpetual Purpose Trust. Those who've been around a while know that Sonoma County spawned 1 million natural food companies, all of which 2 have now sold to multinationals. The trust that I chair is a solution where founders can get out and maintain the purpose of what they started. Patagonia just took our model to do the same for them. I also am an advisor for the board of directors for Santa Rosa and Sebastopol community markets, the community food market in Oakland, and a few other projects. This place has been a surprise to me, and I want it to continue to be a surprise to everyone. When we first moved here, we had no idea it would be where we spent our lives. We raised our 3 kids here. They went to high school at El Molino. And when I talk about that, I think of what the evolution of the area has been, where we can no longer have an El Molino high school. A lot of that is property values and the way that property is being used now, and that continues to be a huge issue around here. The bottom of my driveway, there's a house that's 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,100 square feet, 1 hour of sun a day, just sold for $800,000. I don't know how families can make a start or how families can be here. And it's sold to people who just weekend here, who live in San Francisco. So there's an awful lot of work to be done to do everything that this area needs. To be a vacation spot that people will come to, we need the income and the resources, and we can't restrict that in big ways, but we can manage it. And we can manage it in a way so this is a sustainable community for residents as well. I'm very concerned about environmental change. Probably if you looked hard enough behind me, you'd see the burned hillside above Armstrong Woods. It was very close to our house. We had no way out. We evacuated early, but had there been a fire, like you were saying earlier about Moscow Road, the same is true here. We need more fire preparedness, but more proactive ways to get out of this. It leads me to think about our unhoused population as well. This is not a problem that can be solved by labeling unhoused merely as homeless people. We need multifaceted solutions to this. And we need solutions because we all witnessed in the last year how many fires we believe were set by unhoused people in the woods. It's scary. Ignoring it doesn't help. Shifting blame from one agency to another doesn't help. I have a very good friend who works for a place called Converge. Converge is a agency that works with very disparate groups of people to find common solutions. And they worked on things like equitable trade, migrant rights, sustainable development, and done really remarkable things to bring loggers and environmentalists together, bring really divergent opinions together on solutions. I know these things are possible, and I know we can do them with the right advocacy, with a whole lot of education and information for all of our residents, and for a lot of listening ears. And that's what I would hope to provide to the MAC. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. Kathleen? You're on mute, by the way. You're still muted. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Can you see a bar on the lowest edge of the screen? And on the far left, it might say mute. Do you have that?
Can't hear you.
I'm in a chat
Okay.
with her.
While she's working on this, why don't we ask the attendees if they have any questions?
Anyone in the
Okay, so
any of the attendees, Betsy, Jason, Liza, or Vicky, do you have any questions for anybody? No questions?
is it?
Debbie, you said that you had some questions that had been forwarded.
I do. I was just trying to give Kathleen some instructions because she's dialing in from a phone, or she's zooming in from a
Oh, okay.
phone. And so when you're on a phone, you have to, I think if you swipe the screen, you can do that, right?
Liza Loop says she has a question. Let's.
We have a
recognize-
question.
That's okay.
Okay,
As Liza.
I will bring Liza in. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Liza. Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay,
And-
well, I put my question in the chat. And I'm really impressed with the quality of everybody who's spoken so far. And looking forward to hearing Kathleen when that gets squared away. And I agree with almost everything everybody has said. However, one of the things I was hoping to hear was how each of you expects to go about collecting our opinions. This is not primarily a position where we, the citizens, want you to put your programs into effect. We want you to represent us. So can each of you talk a little bit about how you're going to go about that? And in talking to some of the previous MAC representatives, it seemed to me that there was a lot of sort of administrative and clerical overhead in doing that job. So again, not only I'd like to hear about, I like hearing your opinions, but how are you going to manage being in contact with all of us? Thank you.
That's
Why
really.
don't we go in the same order that we all spoke, and why don't you try to keep your answers to about 30 seconds? Cynthia?
Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about what I did when I was on the MAC before, and it will take some changing. Okay, but essentially I had a sub MAC, as it were, group, and I got people who represented every neighborhood in town and who represented every special district in town and who represented every group or club like Rise Up or Monte Rio, Friends of Monte Rio, Friends of Billy Grande, that sort of thing. And we met every month where I talked to them about what was coming up on the MAX agenda and got their feedback and asked them to talk to people in their respective groups and then give me that feedback. Now that'll be a lot harder to do due to COVID. But even if we do things like that on a Zoom basis, it would still be worthwhile. I also, every Friday afternoon, spent with a bunch of friends, spent some time down at Lightwave, and we basically all talked about the issues that we saw. And I think a lot of it is being very available to the people around. I mean, I'm around town. I am available to everybody who's here. So, and folks who don't find me available, I would be happy to give them my phone number and that sort of thing so that I could become more so to them.
Thanks, Cynthia. Patty?
Mute.
You're on mute, Patty.
Sorry, Debbie did that to me. Thank you for asking that question. It's something that's been on my mind and actually was occurring to me when I saw that there aren't that many people who have joined this Zoom. And you are absolutely right. We are there to represent our communities, not simply to carry out an agenda. And I certainly would solicit input from the staff and former council members about what they found effective and would continue, as I already have been in the groups where I already am volunteering at Food for Thought, at the Russian River Historical Society, to make it a point when I'm there every week to bring up the issues that are percolating and find out what issues should be percolating. I would be open. I'm not sure if there are any sort of restrictions on what we can or can't do, but I'd be very open to establishing a Gmail account that I freely give the account name to anybody in the community who wants to be in touch with me. And then finally, I would love it if it's possible to hold monthly meetings, open meetings, either at the community center or Lightwave is a great place when it's not raining, which it often is not, to meet in person, outdoors, to protect people who maybe need a little bit more protection than just the boosters that we get. So those have been the ideas that I've been thinking about over the last month or so.
Thanks, Patty. Chuck? Uh-oh, you're still muted, Chuck. While Chuck's figuring out how to unmute himself, why don't we move on to Joe?
Yeah, thanks. Boy, technology. It's so great and it's so terrible. My wife didn't get notice of this meeting. My wife didn't get notice of the election. My family, she has lived here an awfully long time, longer than I have actually. So I can only imagine that the communications that we do send out don't reach enough people. So I think one of the first things to do is to find out how we can correct that, how we can gather email addresses, how we can get a communication web going. I love both of the answers that we've heard so far. I haven't been a member, and I'm curious if members have ways that have worked. But it's always been one of the reasons I wanted to do this is because the position is as an advisor and an advocate, not as a direct advisor, but as a representative of the community. And one of the things that I've always really loved and enjoyed doing is gathering perspectives from everybody that I can. I've always done that in my role. I have 500 people working for me in my last job, and I'd go into any store and almost all of them knew me because I sent out emails regularly to each of them, a weekly email, talked about all kinds of things, trying to develop relationships. So there was an open line of communication. A couple of things that I can think of that I'd like to do is do chat and choose, where you just get together casually over coffee or breakfast and just be there for a couple hours, and who shows up. I'd love to be able to email people. I'd love to be able to use social media. I know, a couple of the local social media groups that I belong to now are really great sources of information. Yesterday there was smoke in Armstrong Valley. I just put out, what's the smoke? And I got 10 answers right away. So there are a lot of people paying attention. And then to do topic forums, rather than just have an open, I don't have an agenda discussion, focus on a particular topic and invite people indoors or outdoors to talk about it. So those are some initial ideas, but I'd love to hear more from people who've been doing it.
Thanks, Joe. I see, Chuck, you're now unmuted.
I'm back. Thanks.
Okay, sure.
A lot of the comments about in-person meetings, maybe bi-monthly, is good. What I find out from the community a lot is through social media, whether it's on Nextdoor, whether people are responding to my email on the Monte Rio Musings on the Gazette, or I've even had people through Rush River Alliance contacting me, even people with community issues as far away as Forestville. So I am accessible. There are many ways for people to let us know what their issues and concerns are. Again, we can use social media to find out what the hot topic of the day is as well. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I don't know if any of you can, one thing that I found very useful to do is we have a pretty vibrant group here in Rio Neto. It's called Friends Rio Neto, and we hold member meetings every 2 months. And we've carved out a section for every single meeting to talk about MAC issues. And we have a lot of people attend those meetings. And so that's a great way because you're there in person and everyone can be together and not just bring something up, but discuss it amongst themselves. And then obviously then they contact me directly here as well, and that seems to be working out great for this community. Okay, any other questions from anyone?
Liza also asks about local neighborhood disaster preparedness. How would each of you help with this process?
Cynthia?
I think that is actually more difficult than it might seem. I have been doing some map your neighborhood and I started out wanting to start a fire safe Monte Rio, but I also have found that Monte Rio has so many different types of geophysical formations and whatnot. We've got hills, we've got flatlands, we've got, a lot of different things. So folks have different needs. But what I'm doing is just working with my very small neighborhood, okay, the street where I live, and being in touch with those folks and having meetings with those folks. I've also talked to a couple of other people in Monte Rio, and they have said that yes, they too are up for doing something like what I'm doing. So, you know, it's we're sort of taking on a lot. It's hard. And when you're talking about meetings and whatnot, most people think, oh my gosh, they're going to want me to go and, you know, chop down trees in my spare time. Well, not necessarily. Okay. And forming a fire safe council is something that takes a lot of different types of skills. Okay. So your skill might be with computers. Okay. And that's obviously an important skill, but one that's very necessary in forming a fire safe council. And it just really takes people getting together and taking a look around and figuring out what do we have, what is our situation, and then prioritizing what do we see around us as something that needs to be changed. And basically, you know, getting those priorities out. And then fire safe councils are the mechanism, the vehicle through which the county and the state is sort of trying to coordinate a lot of what they're doing. So once your council gets formed and everything, it's not as though there is no help. You know, that's the end of it. No, you then get in touch with a number of the other folks. There is an umbrella group here in the West County that again, you know, I often meet with, and people from all the different communities in the West County get together and figure out our needs and how to get some of them met. So I guess the short answer is working together is probably the most direct thing, certainly, that we can do.
Thanks, Cynthia. Patty? Unmute, please.
To just quite simply, I'd meet with you and bring the materials that I have gathered in connection with working here with Friends of Villa Grande and other members of my immediate community about what we've been doing, and share notes with you. And to the extent that you do need extra hands for clearing brush or whatever, I love days like that. I'm always ready to volunteer.
Thanks, Patty. Chuck?
So I would say, you know, working with your neighbors, you were talking about disaster preparedness. I think that ties in to some degree with emergency access. And when we have problems like we do on Starrett Hill with the tight, narrow roads, we can't get ambulances through there. We can't get fire trucks through there. So although it's a simple fix, I think it's something that we need to spend more time and attention on. Thanks.
Thanks, Chuck. Joe?
Yeah, complicated stuff. You know, I'm starting from scratch. All I know is that there's a clear and present danger. Every one of the species of trees that I live with have a disease now that's environmentally caused. And so it's, you know, this place is becoming more and more a tinderbox all the time. So working with the fire department, with the agencies previously discussed by Cynthia, putting together what the needs are and then working hard to address them. We have to approach this together.
Thanks, Joe. Any other questions? Do you see any, Debbie?
There aren't any other that have come in on the Q&A, but there were some that were sent to me ahead of time. Some were covered already. So I'm just looking through. And I think maybe I had 4 questions, and maybe this one, what skills do you have that will be especially beneficial as a representative of your community? I think that's been covered a little bit, but
Okay. Let's go around on that one. And that's a good closer too. Cynthia?
Well, I guess some of my skills are that I'm a very good listener. I have worked with people for many, many years, particularly with at-risk youth, generally adolescents. I directed a non-public school for emotionally disturbed adolescents for a period of time. And you have to be perceptive and able to listen. And as Joe said previously, be able to be in the middle, okay, sort of a broker kind of thing, and see different points of view and bringing people, and you know, so bringing people together, or finding the part of what they're saying, what they seem to be thinking, that has some commonality with what you're hearing from other people, and then seeing if you can build on that. So I guess that's it. More people skills than anything else.
All right. Thanks, Cynthia. Patty?
Well, from 40 years of being a trial lawyer, I think my strongest skills are fact gathering and assessment, extremely organized and efficient, and an excellent advocate once that's clear from the fact gathering and the assessment what needs to be done to either in writing or verbally to advocate for that position.
Thanks, Patty. Chuck? Oh, you're muted again. There you go.
Okay, should be good.
Yep.
I agree pretty much with what Patty said. And again, in my job, it's finding ways, you know, where people are coming from, what their needs are, and then being open to coming up with a solution that works for everyone. And I do this day in and day out. So I think that's the most important function of a MAC representative. Thanks.
Thanks, Chuck. Joe?
Yeah, great question. You know, when I think about this role, although it's not about our opinion or point of view, it is about the opinion and point of view of our neighbors. There is only one point of view of our neighbors. There are many points of view. So one of the critical things for me is how to come out of meetings with a perspective that you can share with the supervisor. Yes, you can say there are many perspectives, but it's very helpful if you can lead the group towards something that they have in common. And I've been doing that in a leadership role for many years, establishing common ground, and equally important, setting non-negotiables. Where won't you go? So that we can have a real clear perspective that we can present to the supervisors. Yeah, so I teach leadership, and I'm putting together a training right now, and you know, all these things that I want to talk about in leadership are the kind of things that you guys are all talking about, and that I appreciate. So, you know, joining this group and hearing, I think one of the exciting things about this to me is working with a group of people, the others, on the MAC towards something together. You know, if we can bring our communities together to a meeting and bring all those communities together in something, we'd be doing a lot.
Thanks, Joe. Debbie or Lise, do you want to talk for just a few seconds about what's next in the process?
Thanks so much, Pip. You guys have done such a great job, and we really appreciate it. I'd really like to address for a minute the question about communications and how we reach people. It is an interesting and intriguing challenge all the time. We do have a Facebook group. We have Linda Hopkins and our social media accounts. We also have Supervisor Hopkins' newsletter, and we have County of Sonoma website pages that we have go out. It's prohibitively expensive to send out mail notices to every household. So we contented ourselves with that postcard this year, which seemed to have done a good job of getting more people knowing that this was happening. We also send out quite a bit every single month about various meeting notices. And we rely upon our MAC representatives to put out information through their network. As Pip pointed out, the Friends of Rio Nido, he takes the information from our office and amplifies it. And that is a really important, that is a very, very important role. Interestingly enough, though, not that many new people each year sign up for the newsletter, and that is one of the best ways to get news. We can't force people to sign up for the newsletter. It's great that one of you in your household, Joe, is on the list, and we encourage your wife to sign up as well. But letting people know that it exists is also an important thing to do. I go out as the outreach person for our office. I go out and meet with neighborhood groups all the time. Just yesterday was out with a group on Neely Road that was concerned about their road, and they had never heard about the newsletter at all. So it is an ongoing process that we're working on all the time. And so what we're going to be doing with this great information is we also have a YouTube channel for District 5. All of our meetings are available afterwards on the YouTube channel. And so although our attendance was short and the timing was short, this is a great video, which we will be able now to send out through all of our networks. We will send you the link, and it'll be a great opportunity for you to share this with your networks, because this is the beginning of your participation in this way, and through that we'll be able to have it go through the community. We have.
I just want to echo the very last thing that Elise said, and what seems to work the best is each individual rep on the MAC. If you're having continued meetings with the people that live in your community, you have some way to communicate with them. So if there is a topic, for instance, in Rio Nido that I know is very important to our community, I blast that out a couple times. So it's a lot is on the rep themselves to get their community engaged in these discussions.
So we will be sending out all this information tomorrow as soon as we have the YouTube link from Jason in our office. And we will also be blasting it out across all our social media areas as well. As you probably have seen in the last newsletter, we've set up 3 different ways of voting for people to participate. We've given a relatively short period of time, and the reason for that is we found that we actually get better participation if people are like, oh, I need to do this now. So otherwise it drags on and we don't get many people at all. It's kind of funny thing. People are interesting. So what we have is we have people sending in emails. We've already received 3 votes. We have an in-person day on the November 2nd. I will be out with a ballot box and greeting people and having ballots in person. And people can also print out their ballots and mail them into the office. They need to be postmarked by the 2nd. And then we will have all the votes tallied by allowing for mail, probably the 7th through the 8th. I want to make sure that we get all the mail votes in before we declare results. The way that it works is that the top vote getter becomes the representative. The second level vote getter becomes the alternate. And the third person, in one case, is encouraged and to still participate as a volunteer. We do have lots of committees, and anyone that wants to be a volunteer in committees can participate on the ad hoc committees and as a volunteer to the MAC. So we encourage you to stay engaged. We're so grateful and excited to have this wonderful group of people working with us this time, and we can't wait to start the new year.
Yeah, and I see like Betsy Van Dyke is out in the audience, and I believe she's still interested in the Pocket Canyon position. And the reason she's not at this forum is because she's the only one that's raised her hand to do that. So she will most likely be the rep from Pocket Canyon. So it's not like someone's just picking someone. She was the only one that raised her hand.
Right. Yep.
And the next meeting is December 15th, is that correct?
Our meetings are always the third Thursday in the month.
Yeah, and then the new MAC will be seated in the January meeting.
Okay.
We are looking at increasing the number of MAC meetings from every other month to monthly. And the reason for that is because we do have too much for every meeting. And people are frustrated because we don't have enough time for council member or public comment. And without increasing our number of meetings or not covering as many topics, it will be tough to increase the public comment and the council member comment. So this is something that we need to have discussed at our next meeting in December and agreed upon before we start the year. You think, Pip?
Yep.
Yep.
And this hybrid test will be a good one to do in January too, because that may help two things. One, increasing participation, and if we go more frequently, more people will be able, if they can't make it in person this time, they could, Zoom in or whatever. So hopefully that will increase participation as well.
And Betsy says, yes, hello. So,
Oh.
So yes, hello back, Betsy.
I bet.
Okay.
And
so,
Vicky is in the audience too. She's
yes, Vicki
applied
will be joining
for a
us for Hacienda. So we're
Hacienda,
excited
okay.
to have her as well. We'll have you all introduce yourselves in the January meeting and also the meeting where you get seated. So you guys will have an opportunity as well. Debbie, do you have anything to add, or have we covered?
I do. If we still have the time, Kathleen was unable to rejoin. I emailed her and I offered to read her statement for the Zoom so that people watching that can watching this video can hear what Kathleen had to say. So she says, I am a longtime Russian River resident, over 40 years, with a background in banking and as a legal assistant. As a former member of the Guerneville Elementary School Board, I possess the knowledge and understanding of how an advisory board works. I have the ability to be impartial and unbiased when making decisions for the betterment of my community. The ability to work with, communicate, and provide direction to others are one of my strong suits. I am a detail-oriented person and would fully review any and all documents submitted to the council.
Great. That was great of her to send that in, because now when we post this, people can hear that. So that's awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And whether you get on or not, participate. The more seriously, there's a lot of things we want to do, and sometimes it's just we don't have enough people to do it, or the people that want to do it, it takes them a lot more time, so we can't do as many things. So it's awesome that we have people that are raising their hands and saying, I want to help.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.